Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Antimate here with another episode of Running in Japan. I got my iPad in hand and I answer your questions yet again. You guys know that I recently conducted this video titled The Ugly Truth About Free Shoes and Running YouTubers, and the running YouTube world had completely went mad over this video with over 6,400 views and 260 likes. This video was something that you guys had spoken on to a great extent. And what I think it is that everybody out there was thinking this, but nobody necessarily wanted to say it. And it was just the fact that I was probably the first one to say what all of you were thinking that just made everybody go completely nuts on this one. So if I could put it into perspective, when 50 Cent was trying to pop off from the very beginning of his career, before he had even got a record deal, he was trying to make a name for himself. He was trying to create a buzz, and he put out this record called How to Rob, in which he name dropped every single New York City rapper that there was at the time that had even just a little bit of hype, all the way up to the biggest man inside of the genre of hip hop music. He name dropped them and he said he was going to rob all of these people. Even if it was just for the clout, he did it and it got the town a buzz. And that's pretty much what this video was right here. It got everybody talking about small old me. That wasn't the intention, but it had the same effect as How to Rob. So this video was the equivalent to 50 Cent. So inside of today's episode, we go over your comments. Now, 260 comments, I can't necessarily read every single one of these and reply to every single one. I'm going to go through and I'm going to select comments and I'm going to reply to them live on air and we'll see what it is. There's kind of really no particular way that I choose these. I think I'm going to go in chronological order, but in descending order. I'm going to go backwards in time from the newest to the oldest comment. And I'm just going to select ones that look interesting or ones that you guys gave a bunch of thumbs up to, and we'll go from there. One more thing I would like to preface this video with right before I get into reading this first comment is that a lot of you guys were just talking crazy inside of these comment sections just for the sake of, you know, I made this video about how I felt about people receiving free shoes and not really being impartial inside of their reviews. That was the whole point of the video. But a lot of you guys took it as, let me just come here inside the comment section and let me just say everything that was on my mind. It doesn't matter what it is. It had no relevance to what I was talking about, but you guys just decided to sound off about the YouTubers, or the Shoetubers rather, that you hated most. And I can't say that I was necessarily cool with that. I found it a little bit lowbrow, but you know, I might read some of these on air and I'll give you guys a reply. All right, so here goes the first one. Comment number 1. Mr. Random 2501 says, Jamison Michael kept it real with all brands, the GOAT of shoe reviews. Wow, where's he at now, man? Where's that guy at now? That's all I got to say about that. Comment number 2, CMDV8N3 commented, why is this post titled at Supwell? Well, the whole reason that he's tagged inside the video title is because the inspiration for making this video came from watching one of his videos. I believe the title of his video was the 5 worst shoes of 2025, something along those lines. And in the first 4 minutes of those videos, he was talking about reviews and how nobody's giving negative reviews. And I kind of had a little epiphany from that, and he inspired me to make this video. And so I tagged him just to address him, to let him know that I was kind of making a video based on his video. And the reason why it's at Supwell is because I tried to, you know, do an at Yowana, but because of his URL for his YouTube channel is at Supwell. It came out as at Supwell instead of at Yowana, and that's why he's tagged like that. And then this same guy that left this initial comment, he had left a reply to my reply, and he said, but why is he in the title? Maybe just me, but title implies he's an example of a shoetuber who takes shoes or money from the brands. So then I have to reply back to him, and I said, I'm not too worried about it. All it takes is for someone to watch the first 2 minutes, only the first 2 minutes of my video, to see that that isn't the case. So it would really take some kind of a dumbass to only read the title or the heading of my video and not actually watch the video itself. That would be very akin to somebody that's on Facebook or on some type of social media site, and you know, they read a news heading and they start commenting based on the heading of that news article, but they didn't read the article itself. So the guys are just talking out of their ass, right? So that would be the equivalent to that. You know, this guy is really starting to get on my nerves. He left a lot more comments than this, but you know, I had to tell him what it is, and I'm just going to stop replying back to this guy. And if he has anything else smart aleck to say, then I'm just going to go ahead and block him, but really tired of him. Comment number 3, Jesse Garessi 184. I don't necessarily trust Kofuzi's reviews, but he's a great videographer and his videos are fun to watch. The next comment, at Gen X Life, he put his comment in quotations and said, Osik sent me 3 pairs of 250-pound shoes which can currently be bought by the public. They flew me out to Japan for 3 days to stay in a 5-star hotel, and they got me an entry to the London Marathon, but they haven't told me what to say, so this is a completely unbiased review, unquote. That's brutal. That is brutal, man. That's brutal. Commenter Nike Sario says, I think you're 100% on point. Fod Runner, Ben Parks, and Ed Budd are my go-to. Yowana is a heel striker, so that's why he's not on my top list. You also from now on. Sub from here. Listen, I thank you for the sub. There's a whole lot of name dropping inside of here. I watch Ben Parks a lot. I watch Ed Budd enough. Fod Runner, I think I've seen some of his videos. Listen, there's so many Shoetubers out here inside of this YouTube space. It's really, honestly, it's really hard for me to keep track of who's who and who's been paid up with the brands and who hasn't been paid up with the brands. If you guys have a list of your favorite Shoetubers that you like to watch and that you like to watch for a particular reason or another, that's great. If you don't like watching them, then I respect you for not watching them, for holding to your convictions. But yeah, I can't listen. I'm not gonna leave a comment on every Shoetuber out here. I don't even think I'm gonna say their names. I just, more or less, I just wanted to talk about the topic in general, but I'm not trying to come out here and attack every single person that's on this platform, whether they be big, small, good, bad, indifferent, just paid up with, not paid up with the brands. Like, I'm not trying to do personal attacks on people. I was just more or less giving some social commentary about people that are accepting things, and they're leaving these disclaimers on their channels trying to say that they're impartial, when in reality, subliminally, subconsciously, that's not really the case. That's not really the case. So me trying to comment on these people, I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm not trying to catch beef with anybody, as it is to say. Wow, this is a really long comment here. This is one that I absolutely skipped over. I must have missed this. It's really long. I'm reading it. I skimmed through it, but I'm pretty much reading it for the first time. And I guess I'm going to read it live, and let's hope that it's an interesting one that makes the cut. What Matters to Matt says, "This is a really interesting take. I have always wondered the same thing. As a relatively small channel, I have still managed to get a few shoes and other products in for review. I will also say that every shoe that had been sent to me for review has been at my request because I was truly interested in the shoe and wanted to review them. Sometimes I am successful with getting them sent, and sometimes I am not. And if I'm not, I usually end up buying the shoe myself and reviewing them. Disclaimers can also be tricky because it was my understanding that you are required to say whether you got the product for free or not. After you say that, it can be difficult to just roll into talking about the shoe without at least taking a moment to try and address it. I agree that it can be next to impossible for reviewers to be impartial, but I will say if I take a really deep dive into some of the bigger creators in the space, like Kofuzi and Believe in the Run, both have given horrible reviews on products they have been sent. I think the most glaring example would be Believe in the Run with the Brooks Hyperion Elite 4, where basically Tom is called out as the worst super shoe on the planet. All that really seemed to do is have Brooks wanting to work even closer with him to step up their game and deliver a better product. At a certain level, I think most big brands have reached a point where their shoes being released that are mid-tier or higher will work well for some and not so well for others. And it's the reviewers that are able to make the distinction that I like watching the most. Keep doing what you're doing. Great video, and really enjoyed listening to your thoughts on the whole topic." Wow, that was a big one. Let me go ahead and give his comment the like for, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to come here to little old me and even leave a comment like that. Yeah, I hope it's very well received, and I hope other people will see this. Maybe there is a lot more to this than just what it is that I'm thinking, but you know what? These big brands, I'm still just not sold that their takes are completely honest, because I just don't really feel like they are. That's all I'm saying. Hey, I got a comment from a woman here at Mary Pagones 6073. Even if a shoe reviewer isn't being wined, Gatorated, and dined by a brand, a Shoetuber lives and dies by producing content constantly, and a shoe company isn't going to keep sending shoes to a channel that consistently gives bad reviews to its shoes. Fewer shoes means less content and less money, full stop. That's why the best shoe reviews are often from YouTubers who focus is on different things, like Ben Parks is on his races, training, and marathon prep, not just shoes, and the doctors of running are focused on physical therapy and injury treatment and prevention. Finally, the lifestyle of Shoetubers is so different from the average runner. I run in my shoes up to 500, 600 miles, and I don't vary my brands and types radically. Shoe reviewers usually don't put that many miles on their shoes and vary their rotation so much more widely. And most reviewers are men. I'm a woman. I often wonder how different my shoes are from the ones the guys are reviewing. Finally, Asics seems to go especially hard in cultivating relationships with influencers, like sponsoring BITR's Grit with prizes. So I take reviews of Asics shoes with a heavier shaker of salt. I thank you for coming over here to my space and leaving a comment. We definitely need a lot more diversity inside this space. I welcome it on my channel, and I want you to come over here more and leave more comments. You know, I had recently did a review over the Gel Cayano 32, and I featured my protege, a young girl inside the video, and I think she added a little bit of a different dynamic to the video, and she left a little bit of a different take from me about the shoes. I'm not sure if I shared that on the channel, her after run opinions, but I did feature her on the channel, and she did get to briefly speak about the shoes and about her running experiences, so it's welcome. But anyways, quoting you, you said, "I often wonder how different my shoes are from the ones the guys are reviewing." Well, they're different. Unless the shoes are unisex, they do exist and they are different. I just read up on this the other day that women generally have narrower feet at the heels, and so does your shoes. The shoes are manufactured to have a narrower heel. So yes, they're different. Not unless the shoe is made just one shoe as a unisex shoe that both genders buy. Then that's the only time that they're going to be the same. But yeah, again, there needs to be more women runners and reviewers inside the Shoetube space. So, you know, whoever is willing to get into this can clean up house. So I welcome you to make your own YouTube channel and start giving us the spill about these 500 to 600 mile shoes that you've run in. We would love to hear from you. The honest take. If you're given something for free or being flown to places by companies, even if you try your best, there is still going to be some positive bias there, no matter how hard you try. Ben Parks buys all of his shoes, so there is that. Think you can't just take one person's opinion and need to aggregate all the info you have before blind buying a shoe. Totally agree with you. I'm gonna give that one a heart. That's generally more or less what I try to do. From all the honest Shoetubers inside of this space, I like to look at everybody's review, and I like to make an aggregate of if all of them said that the shoe is good, or if a majority of them said that the shoe is good, minus just one or two or a few, and it kind of helps me make a more informed decision. But definitely runners like Ben Parks, his word carries more weight than a lot of other people. So his word does mean a lot more to me. And one thing that I honestly notice, I'm not sure if his running gait is like mine, or if he's lands with the same type of strike foot pattern that I have, but generally the shoes that he tends to like, I notice that when I do run inside of them, I don't really have much problems inside of those shoes. So his word does carry a little bit more weight with me. There might be another runner out there whose weight carries more with you, but just try to find that guy that you can tether to that can help you make a little bit more of an informed decision before you go inside the store. That way, ultimately, when you go inside of there, you're not going in blindly, and you're not just blindly parting away with your money just hoping for the best. You know, you got a little bit of something on your side to make sure that you're not just throwing money in the trash. At Dingo Dirk 88, good video, bro. I like the style and more importantly the content. Followed you on Strava instantly and a sub here. What I will say is that guys like Kofuzi got me into running years ago. His approach for me was more about his love of running and his delivery instead of the gear. Thank you very much for that comment, and I agree with you. And I left a comment to Dingo Dirk 88, and I said to him, anyone I may seem to be calling out or bashing in the video, scratch that. Let me start again. I watch many runners' content for one reason or another. Regardless of whether I think their reviews are honest or not, some people are motivating, others are entertaining, and others are informative. The review thing really irks me, but there is more than one reason to watch some people, and I still do watch them. The things they can better themselves at, I would appreciate them even more if they did. Here's a good comment here that I replied to. Machine Peasant. He said, LMAO. There's no such thing as unbiased. Everyone is getting their little cut at the end of the day. Yowana shields his subscription app. BITR is literally under a marketing company. Kofuzi's main job is his YouTube channel, and Ben Parks directs people to his website for apparel and hats. The list goes on and on. Just like this guy using non-drama to get clicks and views for his own channel, which works, so props to him. Watch for the personalities that you find interesting to collect information about shoes you're interested. And at the end of the day, we all should still be trying on the shoes if we can and not be taking anyone's word as gospel. And I gave him a reply and I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand the LMAO and the correlation you're trying to make. For example, Ben Parks directing people to his website. You're not obligated to go there and buy anything. It's like food. Take what you want and leave what you don't. You lost the script. I'm talking about biased running shoe reviews that are not impartial. All runners need shoes. When we're in search of the best possible shoes for our needs, for our hard-earned money, it's nice to know the information we are receiving about them is honest. You buying a hat or a t-shirt off Ben Parks is not going to potentially get you injured or affect your performance. You're not being promised anything more than what's offered with his products. Steve Star 9769. The second I hear that a Shoetuber has received a shoe for free, it stops being a totally unbiased review. Brian Timpson 1397 says, if you don't like it, don't watch it. And I don't. When it comes to shoe reviews, I don't. I practice what I preach. End of the story. Rich GNX Fit says, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Watch all the reviews so you can get a broader opinion base and make an informed decision. Hopefully by doing this, you will be able to know who is keeping it real or who is exaggerating. At Running in Japan, keep up the good work. Why, thank you. Exactly. I take an aggregate of many trustworthy runners' opinion to help me make a better informed buying decision, and then I take it from there. From Les Moto Sky 8493, dude, maybe once you've run in and reviewed more than 3 shoes, you could start dropping op-eds. I'll buy the opinion of someone who runs in every drop over what you have to say about your cute little collection. Plus, it's their opinion. Just because it's different than your own doesn't invalidate their perspective. This take is weaker than your channel numbers. Well, I left him a nice little reply at 10:17 inside of that video, so go watch that and suck on it. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for even making this video and even talking about it, because I can imagine right now down inside the comment sections, you guys are just gonna go off about me defending your favorite Shoetuber and saying, who am I? I ain't nobody but just some guy with 1,000 subscribers. I have no following, nobody cares about me. I don't know, maybe you say I'm black, I'm ugly, nobody cares about me, I'm slow. I have no accomplishments inside this running game, which is all true. I don't care, say what you want. The one thing that you can't say about me is that I don't have integrity, because that's the one thing that I do got, and it can't be refuted. Nobody could ever take that away from me. ML Hunt, this is a long one. It says, 2 things. Firstly, I 100% agree with your main point here. Many, if not most Shoetubers are clearly disinclined to be truthfully critical in their analysis of shoes. The worst is when they talk about how much they like the current version of the shoe compared to the previous version. But you go back and look at their review of the prior version, and it was entirely positive with respect to the aspect or feature they now say was a shortcoming in the previous version. I see this a lot, and it particularly bothers me because it indicates that the reviewer thinks their audience is a bunch of idiots with no ability to remember what they said before. But another point is that I think some of the fault falls on the viewer for relying too heavily on the opinions of influencers in making buying decisions. It's certainly true that many reviewers who get shoes seeded to them are not honest critics, but it's also true that even if you think a review was presented in good faith, you can't take their assessment as something that you'd necessarily agree with because of differences among runners in physiology, running style, foot strike, paces, types of runs or training approaches, differences in preferences with regard to ride and on-foot feel, etc., etc. As an example, I think Yowana reviews are 100% honest and given in good faith, but he likes shoes I don't care for and dislikes shoes that are my favorites. He hates the Super Blast 2, and it is, to me, by far the best shoe I've ever had on foot. I totally agree, it's the best shoe I've ever had on foot as well. So, all shoe reviews should be treated as informational and not taken as buying guides. I think too many runners, especially less experienced runners, want someone just to tell them what shoe they should buy. Just go on, say, Ask Running Shoe Geeks on Reddit and see how many people are asking for shoe recommendations from total strangers who they don't know anything about and who don't know anything about them. This is not a good approach. Information from others can be good and useful, but there is no shortcut to trying shoes and figuring out over time and with experience what works for you personally. That's a long comment, but yeah, majorly I agree with you, and what you say pretty much can't be refuted. I take my running shoe reviews from different sources and I aggregate them together, as I mentioned before, but even then I still go inside and I try on the shoes and I see whether they fit well or not, and even then sometimes, they may feel good inside of the store, but once you actually take them out of the store and you start running inside of them, then it's a whole nother story. And there've come times that I bought shoes that I pretty much really didn't like, and you're just pretty much screwed at that point in time. You could try to sell them and offload them as soon as possible, or potentially trade shoes with somebody that is the same shoe size as you, but yeah, I wish we could always get this right 100% of the time, but we could just try to collect as much information as we possibly can to make the best informed purchasing decision as we can at the time that we get them. But it's not really going to be foolproof until you get them on feet and you run inside of them to find the answer for yourself. But yeah, you want to try to minimize potential issues as much as possible, and that's all I'm trying to do when I'm trying to gather in all these other speakers and have them inside of my ear and listening to so many different people. I'm just trying to minimize me making a mistake, but to say that it's going to be 100% foolproof, not at all. Finally, the last comment from, I can't even read this, Stasrovate 4063. In short, it's called, quote, conflict of interest. Thank you. You win the comment of the day for saying the word of the day. It was on the tip of my tongue, and I wanted to say conflict of interest so many times inside of that review. Even inside of this video, I wanted to say that, but it just kept slipping my mind. But thank you for the recall. That's exactly what I wanted to say. It's a conflict of interest. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Salute to you wherever you may be out inside the world, and I will see you guys inside the next one. And until next time, God bless. I'm out.